Hi everyone, welcome to our first ever New Moon Monologues. My name is Erin Holland and I am one half of the Queens of Cups Productions company. My other half, Grace O'Keefe, is currently backstage on Zoom, making sure that our tech runs smoothly. Just to introduce us, myself and Grace met last year at Royal Holloway University while we were studying for our masters. Mine was in playwriting and hers was in directing, and we wanted to create this writing night in order to provide a new platform for new writing and emerging artists. Today is the new moon, and tonight is actually not just any new moon, it's a super new moon. And every single month, this is a time for reflection, transformation, and letting go. And every month, people take part in new moon rituals. And a very popular one is to write down your thoughts and your feelings as a form of release. And so that is where our kind of new moon monologues derived from. And every month, we're going to have this writing night on the new moon, and there'll be a different theme every month. But we thought that we would kick it off with the theme of 2020, as I think we all need a little bit of catharsis through art after the year that we've all had. Tonight we're going to be showcasing 12 pieces that are a beautiful mix of poetry, spoken word and theatre. And we're going to be kicking off the night with my good friend and spoken word artist, Danny Martin, with his piece, We Are Born Again. Hope you enjoy.
We are born again. See, I do not remember what they claim is our old life. They claim we still have lingerings of the past flickered in heavy-set made-up eyes on nights out by the London Eye, littered by streets where gangs are playing eye for an eye in this cold town like Natty's Eye. And I have never felt there's a time we need to empathise as much as now. See, everyone's got to take account of their self. Isolation is a dangerous way of looking after your mental health, but they say it's okay if you live in a bubble. Yet it's only amongst ourselves we quarrel. Teens, for the sake of each other, be nice on socials. Distancing negative is testament our future. They tell me this is all brand new. Normal's not to be televised on the news. It's not normal to see news stories. It's just news, Tories, Boris and co. It's a 19-year-olds and statues. They say we're brought down unlawfully. Impression enforced in statues. Human users nothing but stats. Use a stack to lose. So what have they got to? Nothing. I want to repeat some of that in case you didn't hear me. Because I said everyone's got to take account of their self-isolation. Only amongst ourselves we quarantine for the sake of each other. Social distancing. Negative tests cement our future. This is all brand. The new normal. New stories of news, Tories, Boris and COVID-19. Year-old statues. They say we're brought down unlawfully. Oppression enforced in statues. Human users nothing but stats. Use a stack to lose. So what have they got to? Nothing. So they march through April, come what may, June and another 265 days if that's what it takes. Moving anti. Body counts move up on these sides, or you can move 20 bodies up on these sides. Burns felt on brown skin like a shanty. I cannot breathe is more than just a tragedy, it's a movement. And although I don't stand with you, I'll take the knee and I'll do it proudly. No longer will we be blinded. Vision not 2020, but fuck anyone who said they saw this coming. Because we are born again. I cannot remember what they say is our old life. They claim we can still have lingerings of the past flickered in the emptiness of the trains at night. I heard birds narrate a Sunday morning before taking flight. I saw my daughter's eyes flicker wide for the first time alive. I heard silence on the main road, replace sirens on the main road. I saw more of what this world has to offer while they were telling us to stay at home. Don't let this go to waste. The world has changed, but we're in control. We can dictate the new normal. Maybe 2020 vision wasn't what we envisaged, but I pray we see things more clearly. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Danny. That's such a great way to start the night. Up next, we have Biss by Judy Upton and performed by Ruchika, Jain.
There's a bee buzzing against the window. My eyes keep drifting up towards it as it pushes itself angrily against the grimy glass. I think it wonders why it can see the light, but never reach it. If I could, I'd get up and let it out. But leaving my workstation just isn't worth the hassle it would cause me. They fine you for everything here. A minute late in the morning, too long in the toilet, getting a cup of water, whatever. The dust sparkles in the air, and the machines whir in our ears, night and day. Anala, who sits in front of me, is coughing. Even if she's sick, she won't go home. There's no pay if you're ill at home, but there's bills and rent and mouths to feed no matter what. I'm inserting a mesh panel into the front of a sparkly top. It's the kind of top that a young girl would wear in a nightclub. But there are no clubs open now, so why are we even making it? There are illegal parties. But haven't they enough things in their wardrobe? Why don't they get us making protective clothes for doctors and nurses instead? If I could do something like that, then it wouldn't be so bad. The bee is in a similar situation. It should be outside collecting honey for its family. Instead, it's stuck inside here, going up and down on the small pane of glass as my needle goes up and down on this piece of cloth. If someone swatted the bee, would anyone back at its hive or wherever it lives even notice it? Miss it? My family would miss me if I died here. No one else would really notice. A woman was taken ill here late last year, fainted on the floor. It was just after midday, and by 3 o'clock there was someone else sitting at her machine completing the skirt that she had been making. Dizzy as a bee, then swatted and gone. But if this place and the other factories closed down, then what would we do? How would we live? On my way to work, I look inside the windows of the shops and cafes and I think to myself that I would like to work here. Because you can see people walking outside. And there's no fine for chatting as far as I know. Now though, these places are slowly opening up, but some of them are still shuttered down. Maybe some of them won't come back. I've heard there are long queues at the job center. I was there once, but they told me that I already have a job. I said it doesn't even pay me the minimum wage. And they said it should. That's the law. How do I make them obey the law? Join a union, go on a strike? The man said. I tried to explain. In my job, you can't join a union. There are no strikes. You're either working or you aren't. You do have the right to work here legally, the job center man said. He was looking for my national insurance number. It was right there in front of him. I had filled it in the form even before I got to see him. He was wearing a rugby shirt under his jacket. It had stripes on it, orange and black, like a bee. I think my company might have made it. We did a lot of rugby shirts last year. I remember seeing one in a sports store. When I had gone to buy their football kit for school, I couldn't believe the price. If I went to the market, I bought the materials and made the shirts myself, I could make a profit for myself. I could do it from home on a second-hand sewing machine. I even asked at one of the shops if they would stock up tops and shirts if I made them. But the woman said no, they already had their own suppliers. I asked her what she was paying each supplier, but she wouldn't tell me. trade secrets. They are also shuttered down now, and I don't even know if they'll reopen. Anyways, people are buying all their clothes online now. Would it be any use trying to sell things on a website? Would anyone visit my small web page with just a few things on it? Just don't know. It would be a big risk. If I tried to start my own business, if I had to give up my job to do it. How do you start something when there's no money to spend? When I go back home after work, I can't face sewing. I have to soak my hands in salt water to soften the hard skin, to soothe the cracks and blisters. How do I even find time to make new items to sell? The bee has stopped buzzing. Sitting quietly on the windowsill now. It has learned that escape is hopeless. It has accepted its fate. It will spend its last few hours and minutes in this hot, airless place. For the bee, the memories of flowers, their beauty, their perfume, their colors, is slowly fading away. Anala is coughing again. It's so hot here, she says. My supervisors are at the other end of the room, near the fire escape door, trying to get a signal on his phone. I quickly dart to the window and open it a little. I know there are no flowers outside, just concrete and bricks and rubbish. But as I make my way back to my workstation, I see that the bee has started to slowly crawl towards the crack. I can feel the breeze. But if my supervisor sees that the window is open, he will close it. He always does for some reason. The bee only has a very short time to gain enough strength to crawl outside. I find myself whispering, "Go on. Go!" The bee is outside now. I don't know if it is just resting, or if it has gone back to the other bees and flowers. I really hope it has. I hope it has found its wings and is free and living again. Living properly in the cool and fresh air.
Thank you so much, Judy and Ruchika, for that beautiful performance and thought-provoking piece. Up next, we have The Year of the Rat by Sean Fitzgerald and performed by Julie Mattis.
As my own ma used to say, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Granted, a rat's life is never an easy one, but we've seen better pickings. The past few months have been particularly bad for us rodents. We've missed your bags of chips and half-eaten kebabs thrown, absolutely thrown, across the pavement for us to feed off. All of the restaurants have closed, and even the back alleys are now emptied of wheelie bins. It's all gone. We have lost our plentiful bounty of food. We now have to fight for our food on the beaches, in the fields, on the streets. But we will never be defeated. We will lose many fights, but never the battle. I saw many of our comrades fall at the seas of Pierhead against the seagulls. A vicious and bloody fight ensued over a discarded ham and pickle sandwich. Little Ernie, only weeks old, was taken squealing for his dear life by the claws of a seagull and flown above to the great lunchbox in the sky. In the parks, we had to fight for food against the squirrels. Now, they have formed an unholy alliance with the pigeons. Their tactics are simple but deadly. The pigeons act like drones picking out couples or families eating picnics. Then they come flying down like kamikaze pilots, screeching and flapping their wings, skittling away the humans. The squirrels watch the whole scene, hiding in wait behind the trees. Then, amid the confusion, they go scurrying like rats and steal away the vegan sausage rolls. I still wake up with nightmares most nights. I cannot get the image out of my head. The way they tear into the cling film and plastic lids with their beaks, their claws and teeth in a hyena frenzy. Before the COVID outbreak, we saw how the McDonald's pigeons evolved to flightlessness due to the generous donated leftovers. But now, it's every animal for themselves. What else can we do? In a time of scarcity, we follow nature's law and adapt to survive. And how, you may ask, have we survived? Simple. We have followed you back to your homes, snuck into your gardens, made a den under your patio, climbed up your drain pipes to get through your opened windows. Who needs Pizza Hut when you have an unlimited amount of food? Okay, we have had to defend ourselves against the occasional cat, but we are also clever, resourceful, highly intelligent. No obstacle is a match against our survival skills. Mandy, our chief scout, had been checking the cat flaps and taking measurements. She reported back that some houses had cat flaps without bells and, even better, afforded just the right size for many of us to fit through. At night, we sniff around your kitchens, nibbling at the leftovers, eating your breakfast cereal in the open cupboards. On occasion, we sneak upstairs and rummage under your beds. You would be amazed at how many of you sleep unattended with a half-eaten sandwich or a takeaway meal next to your limp, outstretched arm. It's unfair how we get compared unfavorably with our cousins, the squirrels. With their cute and bushy tails, we see small children delight in feeding them nuts in the parks. Fat chance we should enjoy such pleasures. Can you imagine the furore if we pop out in the daytime and ran up to a small child, imitating the cute impression of a squirrel sitting upright and squeaking? There would be a mass breakout of hysteria. Mums would shriek, kids would cry with terror, the whole park would be on lockdown and quarantine, rat catchers would send the sniffer dogs onto us. The squirrels get all the freebies, photo opportunities, whereas we get rat poison and a club over the head. I read in one of your newspapers recently in the recycle bin that the government is shortly to open the economy. So it looks like restaurants and pubs will be back on the menu at long last. Get back to normality. But times have changed. The COVID has reshaped everyone. So maybe we'll just continue to stay in your home instead.
Thank you so much, Julie, and thank you, Sean, for writing that piece. It's so interesting to see COVID through the eyes of a rat. Up next, we have The W and the O, a poem written and performed by Elspeth McColl.
Out of touch, out of time, out of sight, out of mind, out of my mind, fucking insane, brain fried, tongue tied. Does it matter that I cried? That I might do again tomorrow and the day that follows? And the one after that and the one after that, that I might be stuck where I'm sat wondering, is this weakness? Is this strength? What kind of lengths am I going to have to go to prove that today I am woman? Today, you are woman. Yeah, my woman is not yours and yours is not mine. And no, I'm not talking some kind of spectrum, some kind of line. There's a gap in the word, splits and cracks that I might fall through unheard whilst you rise up to the top. But never quite the top of the top, because no matter the distance between my woman and your woman, between her woman and their woman, we are still only woman. Only woman. The small addition of a W and an O that somehow puts us below, despite all the forms of greatness we fucking show, we are destined to be part of the to and fro from failure to success and then being told, can't be so. You can't have your cake and eat it, love. You can't expect the world. You simply just can't. But these pokes and prods will never quite stop that I am proud to be the woman that stands before you, the woman that is me. Even if there's always this tightness, this itchiness, always slightly tangled, always a bit of a mess. It doesn't quite fit comfortably. Got shrunk in the wash.
Thank you, Elspeth, for that beautiful poem. Here at the Queens of Cups Productions, we love a feminist poem. Up next, we have Ciao Aleppo, written by Andrew Biss and performed by the talented Bhasker Patel.
Hi. It's too dangerous, Akram, my uncle said. Only a fool would take such a risk. Spoken, of course, without a trace of irony, as the smell of sulfur and death lingered across Aleppo, ever present in our nostrils. This is your home, he said. Why would you leave it behind? But a country isn't a home any more than four walls and a roof are. They're merely circumstances, the places where fate deposits us on this earth. Home is where you feel safe and secure. Some are lucky enough to be birthed into such places. Others are not. I thought I was one lucky ones, and I suppose, relatively speaking, I was, until the siege began. At first, we hoped it might end soon, in weeks, maybe a month or two. What match could the rebels be against the might of the government's forces? But they were. Or rather, the government wasn't nearly as all-powerful as we'd been led to believe. So weeks turned into months, months into years, and all to a soundtrack of crackling sniper fire, thudding mortar rounds, and the dread-inducing whir of the gunships hovering above, idly dropping their barrel bombs on a whim, followed by the inevitable wail of ambulances and the inevitable wail of the bereaved. Our home was small, but room enough for my parents, my brother, and myself. And we were fortunate as we had a cellar in which we could shelter on the days when the shelling was more intense. Very occasionally, we'd be blessed with a day when the sound of gunfire and explosions was almost stilled. It was on just such a day that my mother asked me to fetch rice from the cellar as she began preparing our supper. I'd barely reached the last step when suddenly the entire world around me burst apart in a violent rage of flying debris, a deafening, thundering end of days. When the white helmets dug me out, they said I was lucky to be alive and unharmed, save a few cuts and bruises. My family and my home, meanwhile, had been erased from the earth. Luck perhaps in the eye of the beholder. I went to live with my uncle Hossam and his family after that. 8 of us crammed into 2 tiny rooms in an apartment building, the top 2 stories of which had already been turned into bombed out hollow shells. This was not living. I had to leave. The Europeans won't want you, Hossam warned. They won't trust you. But what did I care? Was I wanted here? Our own government was blasting us out of existence. A few streets away, I'd seen the distended, dust-covered corpse of a small boy who choked to death on chlorine gas, his little tongue poking rigidly from his mouth like an obscene cuckoo clock. He wasn't wanted. Before the war, I had my own business, a small coffee shop I'd named Chow. I'd bought a vintage espresso machine, lined the walls with old photos of Marcello Mastroianni, Sophia Loren, and others, and played popular Italian hits of the 1950s and 60s all day long. It proved to be quite popular, and my father was very proud. It's gone now, of course, razed to the ground like so much of the city. But I was lucky. Its success had provided me with savings, and with them I was able to make my way to the coast and onto a boat packed with other seekers of safe harbor. As I climbed aboard, I noticed a small girl eyeing me suspiciously as she clung to her mother's side. I smiled, but her expression didn't change. Even at that tender age, she was already well versed in mistrust. 2 days into our journey, the hull of the boat groaned under the weight of its desperate cargo and began to break apart. Once again, my ears were filled with the unholy wail of the dispossessed. And now, my body floats towards a distant shore. What shore? What country? It isn't important anymore. I just know that wherever the current takes these bones, I will end up in a place where all are welcome and none are judged. An undiscovered country that, in the due course of time, will eventually call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhasker, for that wonderful performance. And thank you, Andrew, for such a powerful reminder that in the midst of a global pandemic, the crisis in Syria is still ongoing. Next, we have Alex Britt, The Track to the Quarry, performed by Will Stewart.
Sarah will be back in a minute. She's just sorting out the final bits and pieces, and then, yeah, we'll be on our way. I didn't plan to say this. Yeah, sorry. That'll probably be my first mistake. I went down our old track this morning, the one that leads to the quarry. Yeah. I've actually been going down there quite a lot recently. Nothing much else to do around here right now. Is there? Well, it's not our old track, but yeah. Anyway, this memory of us just hit me like a steam train. Me and you in the blazing sunshine, brandishing sticks and whacking everything in sight, every blade of grass, every dandelion that got in our way. I was Legolas and you were Aragorn, and we were scouring Middle-earth for the remainder of the orcs, or whatever we thought they did after the end of Return of the King. Because we both agreed, didn't we? There was probably like a manhunt or a roundup of some kind. Anyway, this memory, it was like in films, because it had this sepia-like quality to it. Like it was kind of glowing gold in my brain, but like naturally, obviously, because I hadn't done anything to it in an editing suite or to a camera lens. Yeah, anyway, that memory just made me think, what happened to us? Because We used to do that a lot. We'd get lost, and at the time, I really thought we were escaping our little village, escaping the country, and I thought those tracks would go on forever, and there'd always be more to explore. We're really only 20 minutes away, and it turns out that those tracks are just one big circle. They loop back round on each other, which is sort of, I mean, I really thought that, hoped that we'd explore those tracks forever. But we grew up and apart, and you went on to have girlfriends and girls, and what I'm trying to say is, what I mean to say is, I always liked that you were Aragorn, because you look like him in a way. You have the same kind of, well, I mean, you're only 10, but you had this aura about you that was, well, it was enchanting. It was powerful. You were a king amongst boys, and you enchanted me. And I think it's just funny that we've been back here all this time, and we have. Oh shit! I think that's Sarah's car now. Yes, sorry, but I like that you were Aragorn, and I just wanted to check, because maybe I'm going crazy, but those little glances we used to have, you know, when we're on the track and my eyes would catch yours, and you'd smirk like this, and whenever we hugged, it would just last a little bit too long, and I just wanted to check if that was real. Because those days, it's like they're guarded by something ethereal up here. They're untouchable to me. I just wanted to know if you felt like that too. Or did I make it all up? Because it won't be the first time. Sorry, yes, it feels really real, and well, I'm not going to go on very long. I'm only going back to work, fucking Boris, and I mean, we can talk about this if you like, or not. Just let me know.
Thank you, Alex and Will, for that brilliant monologue and performance. Next, we have Lorna Meehan's Today.
Today, I forgot what day it was. Again. Didn't notice there was a new one-way system in Asda. In my haste to find orange curd, for I am now a baking goddess. Today, I got...
First, you right now having some technical issues, but Lorna Meehan's Today will be right up as Grace just fiddles around, and it's a pre-recorded performance, so we're just getting it ready to be perfect.
Today, I forgot what day it was. Again. Didn't notice there was a new one-way system in Asda. In my haste to find orange curd, for I am now a baking goddess. Today, I got strong and bendy and zen via Zoom yoga, where no one could hear me fart. Ate for an hour of quiet, and the kitchen all to myself, and longed to live alone, not be lonely. Today, I just wanted to mooch around a charity shop, buy some pointless tat. There's so much room since the mass clear out. I feel deprived of strangers' junk. Today, I resisted the urge to get naked in a thunderstorm, surrounded by my mum's collection of sadistically happy garden gnomes. Why do they grin like that? So blissfully ignorant, I almost envy them. If I make it to retirement, my garden will be a strictly no-gnome zone. Today, I dispensed seeds to my adopted Canada geese chicks on the mangy scrap of canal behind my house. It's hardly an awe-inspiring woodland, but it'll do, for I am queen of the geese. Natural newness, tottering adorably, expectantly towards you on tiny legs, can make all the difference to a succession of non-days. Today, I threw my ancient laptop into the pit of blackness that is the local tip's electrical goods skip, and I felt like a fucking rock star. Today I hugged my nonplussed cat a little too hard. Kept a friend on FaceTime a little too long, and cried at the host has ended the meeting cruelty of it all. Today I realised I probably don't need that repeat prescription of diazepam, but maybe I should get it, just in case. Today I realised we redecorated the bathroom way too early into proceedings. Today, a passerby remarked about the weather and I forgot to be awkward. I was just grateful. Today, I had my first alfresco wank in a tree-enclosed haven of sensual solitude. At least, that's what I thought it was, till I came out the other side and realised anyone could have seen everything. But under the circumstances, so what? Today, I coloured in a dragon. Finally listened to that new podcast everyone's been talking about. Howled into my pillow, because I don't remember the last time I was touched. Today I made plans for seeing actual people in the flesh at a designated time and place, weather permitting. Today I just wanted to play in the sandpit with my 2-year-old nephew, watching sand slide effortlessly out of plastic toy hourglasses, speeding up the hours by slowing them down. Made another kick-ass lasagna, wasted precious hours I could have spent on having a profound spiritual awakening, or finally learning Greek, or working on my masterpiece, watching Lord of the Rings parody videos on YouTube, and that cave scene from Game of Thrones on repeat. You know, Jon Snow, all wet and naked, giving his foxy redhead some serious tongue action. And what of it? Today I didn't know what to say to him when he cried and said, "What's the point?" I just hugged him and gave him some homemade cake. For I am a baking goddess and sexual explorer, a chronic master baker. I know. Today has been well over 5 to 7 working days, and my latest sex toy has still not arrived.
Thank you, Lorna, for that hilarious insight into the day-to-day experiences of lockdown. Brilliant. Up next, we have Hindsight by Colin Mattox and performed by Brian Silver.
There isn't any more weed, is there? I don't know why I asked. I know there's not. Ugh, I could make a drink. I don't need to drink. I haven't eaten a day. I don't know. I forgot. I don't know how anyone is calm right now. There are calm people in the world, right? Right now, somebody is able to sit on their couch and breathe normally in and out. And they may or may not be aware of the pile of shit that is the world right now. And they're fine. Maybe not fine with it, but they are fine. They're better than me right now. I would love some weed right now. I would love a blunt, fat blunt, or a skinny joint. A hit at the bottom of a pipe. I'd take some scraped up resin right now. Could have a drink. We did get those fancy tumblers from the registry. Could sip something like a fancy writer person. Might calm me down. I need to eat something. All I've had today is coffee. This is happening too much. This happened yesterday. It's happened Monday. It's happened Saturday. All it takes is just one little thing I read, one little snippet from a New York Times article, or a tiny NPR soundbite or podcast. That's all it takes for me to spiral. And then I think, we're all gonna die from this virus, starting with everyone I love. The world is gonna burn the fuck up. Democracy is dead. I'm only safe in this country because I'm a white guy. What can I do as a white guy? White guys should probably just shut the fuck up. See, I think of all this stuff. And when it stops, it pours out of me, I'm exhausted. Just want the clock to show later time so I can be past all this. Did we text that one guy, see if he has weed? I don't think we got hold of him. I could text him. You could text him. I know. I could just have a drink. I might take my mind off things. No, fuck that. I don't want to drink. Drinking is bad for me. I'm just not hungry. This year, this fucking year, it's just extremes. Either I'm afraid of everything and it freaks me out so much that I make tracks pacing around the apartment, or I don't feel a thing. I don't very much care for either. And I can't write when I'm feeling either way, and that sucks because it's kind of my thing. I can't do it. I'm just really afraid that we're in this giant time loop where everyone is either under or overreacting to everything. For Christ's sake, I would kill a small animal for half a gram of cannabis. Drinking never calms me down. It just makes me mad. Order something to eat later. Maybe take a walk. It's gotta get better. It's gotta get better. Or I've gotta get better. Getting better has never exactly been my forte. or, the world's collective forte. So I guess we wait. Keep going, right? I'm trying to dump all this on you. But you asked how I was, so there you go.
Thank you so much for that great piece. Up next, we have David Jones performing his own work, The Lockdown Letter.
Oh, you're here, are you? Out your house. I've just been thinking back to a date in mid-April 2020 and how it was and how we all were. Do you remember? Streets were deserted. And we waited for the evening bulletin for news of how many cases of COVID-19 there were here and around the world, and of the deaths. Those of us who were not key workers, those of us who had to stopped. And instead of just ploughing on through each day that was like the last, each week that was like last year, we're trying to deal with it online, with online communication and ideas of self-improvement. Social media became a new normal. We told people about our likes and dislikes, posted images from favourite films, and asked each other what our influential albums are. Joined in exercise regimes, not me, and tried to improve our skills. It all started at such a frenetic pace as we tried to build a replacement community somewhere in the ether. But you could see it all change though. It slowly grind down to self-contemplation and self-reflection as people missed that real person-to-person interaction. In the main, we stayed true to our normal selves. We may have ventured a little from our usual echo chambers, but we just looked at the views that justified our own look from our own little self-imposed porthole on the world. Me, I caught well with being in lockdown. It's furloughed, so yes, I was paid. But then I might not have had a job at the end of it when the company had gone tits up. And I suppose I might have to deal with that when it happens. I've got space in my home. I've got loads to read, small garden to sit out in. Not all as lucky as me, I'll grant you. I know this. I know I'm lucky. And through lockdown, it was back like it was before, back to each day like the last, each week like the last, each month like the last. I got a letter that day in mid-April from my mental health worker. Our last two meetings had to be over the phone, COVID. And here was this letter. Headline news: I'd been discharged. It seems that my recently acquired skill of cognitive restructuring of unhelpful thinking habits is going to be of great benefit to me. You know what's funny about this? What's really funny about this? I've got social anxiety. So at that moment, I was never in any social situations. Even in the supermarket, everybody was 2 meters away, gloved and masked, following the arrows around the toilet-free shopping procession. But now we're at a bit of a turning point. Not the end, but a turning point. And I've got to take those tentative steps and get through the front door. And I've got to face people again. Real flesh and blood people, and not those game show pigeonhole disembodied heads from the people from Planet Zoo. Real people in real situations. And I'll be back to that old me, the pre-COVID me, back to pretending that everything is okay. And once more, I'll be the fake me. Lockdown, my lockdown. Well, it wasn't that much of a problem, but Well, what comes now?
Thank you, David, for such a wonderful piece and for your great performance. Up next, we have a poem by Rachel Lightfoot called Zombie.
I cannot think of anything more dread than folk who speak of the weather and share photographs of sliced bread, talking about who they will wed and how they put the kids to bed. I need more than this to keep my mind well fed. Chatter about wedding dresses and rings I find rather banal, amongst other things. Small talk stings. Tell me of wild things. Spring forth tales to make my mind ping. Nothing aggravates me like apathy. Can you just show me your teeth? Reveal to me your beliefs. Tell me what brings you grief. Take me to the places you find relief. Nothing grates more than monotony. Talk to me of your world, not the world where you go to work, come home, eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, repeat. I mean your inner world, your definitions of sublime, your filthy little secrets, the things that make you tick. Regale me with jokes that are sick. Your indifference actually offends me. Play with me, be silly, be sick, be off the wall. Heck, you can even be cruel. Just please don't feed me mind gruel. Don't speak to me of traffic, of the office, of blah, blah, blah. Friday night wine time, live, laugh, love. You okay, hun? No, I'm bored shitless, bruv. Speak to me in whispers, regale me with tales of the undead. Let me crawl inside your head. And with all that being said, be careful how you tread. Too many tedious conversations leave zombies in the shed. I'm in need of a real soul to replenish this mind and make it whole. I'm craving brains, and the last thing I need is more droll Karen casserole.
Thank you, Rachel, for that fantastic poem. I think we've all felt that feeling, haven't we? Up next, we have Elisabeth Speckman's Eliana, performed by Mackenzie Norris. Bear with, as we just have another little technical buffering.
There we go.
There we go.
When I was a kid, we lived next door to a Latvian man. There was this rock that was on the edge of his property, right next to ours, sort of balanced between the two driveways. It was a kid's dream, this rock. It was big enough to spread your whole body out on like a mermaid, or stand tall on like a lion. All the neighborhood kids would use it as home base for tag or meeting place to lay out our snacks and our Barbies in the sun. Rainy days, we would jump off and into puddles to make bigger splashes. On hot days, we would find a little shade in the grass beside the basalt. Rest our naked bellies on its cool underside. Problem with the rock was that it belonged to Mr. Pavlova. This man took rock ownership seriously. Took everything seriously about his yard, his property. His daughter and I were admonished for every single time we even touched the rock. The ways that we disobeyed and disappointed him. Couldn't understand how such a silly stone could cause such an uproar. This man was an adult, a dad. What did he care if we played on a rock or his lawn or his deck, if we blew dandelion seeds or made rings of mustard garlic and left them strewn along the street? My mother tried to explain it mattered because they were his. And when he had grown up, where he had grown up, he hadn't had any of those things. Grass, seeds, rocks. He lived in a block apartment, no land to call his own. So property lines became a matter of pride. Get it? Not until now. Now I stand outside my door and yell at the neighbor girl to stay 6 feet back. I tell my son to stop short of the trees that mark the edge of our yard, wear gloves to get the mail. I see the eyes of all who pass by on walks, assessing the property lines. Like the virus will cross this invisible fence. I want my son to grow to love the world. To embrace the rocks, the trees, the sun. It's all I can do not to bite my tongue as I watch him bend to pluck a wild violet from our lawn and hold out a tender arm to the little girl next door. Turn back with smiling eyes to show me what he's done.
Thank you, Elisabeth and Mackenzie, for bringing to life so beautifully what it means to be a parent in a pandemic. Finally, we have a fantastic poem to finish the evening's performances by Katy Arnell, and it's called "And the World Got Quieter."
And the world got quieter because the people stayed in. And the world got smaller and we fenced ourselves in. And for some, the silence was just too deafening. Lockdown, shutdown, control, alt, delete, reboot, reconfigure, downloading complete. Switch off the router at the back of the wall. Close down the window and shut down the call. This video is buffering. Try and click refresh. This video is buffering. No need to get dressed. Hours become days, and the days become weeks of nothing, emptiness, and abandoned streets. How do you carry on when it all just stops spinning? In stasis, in static, and no one is winning. No achieving, no desire, no adrenaline to push, when motivation is forgotten and no one's in a rush. The novelty is gone, the excitement no more. Gain a stone and a drinking habit and chances end at the door. when it's shut to the possibility of chance and progress. So just fester in your sloth and embrace all your mess. Give in to the pit, the sinking, the deflation of your mood, of your energy, of your motivation to bake or to clap or to learn a new language. Just watch more telly and eat another sandwich. We explored the kitchen cupboards and we ventured under beds. We took a holiday from others and holidayed in our heads. The dark and desolate landscapes of cabin-fevered walls, the constant ringing and beeping of intermittent Zoom calls. Duvet mountains in pyjama land across the borders of the kitchen. My dancing shoes were locked away, although my soul was itching. There is no expanse of travel, no routes or journeys to make, no sea to dip your toe in, no picnic by a lake. We missed and kissed each other through windows and through screens. We dropped food at people's doorways and watched broken. They couldn't let us in. Let's all name and shame. Let's put them in the stocks. For daring to go out, they are spreading the pox. That man, what a bastard. He went and bought some soil. That's not an essential. So let's watch them all boil. Boil with hatred and anger as we all name and shame. Someone in the park, they are to blame. On Facebook, on Twitter, the vilified are there. Look at them, the bastards. They just don't care. That walk in the park, has it been an hour? That man buying soil, does he need to grow that flower? But maybe he does, because without it, he's just sad. Maybe she needs that park, because inside she was going mad in a one-bedroom flat without light or space, with 2 kids who are screaming and no sun upon her face. It's easy to say that we're all in the same boat, but we aren't, and some people are struggling just to stay afloat. She's in a dinghy, it's cramped and capsizing. You're on a luxury yacht, spending time deciding which room in your mansion you can go and relax in. Rest assured, as long as your life isn't too taxing.
What a visually beautiful and moving way to finish our first night of New Moon Monologues. Thank you, Katy Arnell, for that poem. And thank you to everyone that has joined us tonight. But a huge thank you to our artists, our writers, our poets, our spoken word artists, our performers that have contributed to this evening. We will be back again next month on the new moon, which is October 16th, with another fantastic night of new writing on the theme of breakups. So if you want to stay up to date with details of this, or if you'd like to submit something to that, then follow us on our socials for details, at New Moon Monologues and at the Queens of Cups. Finally, I'd just like to finish by inviting all of our performers and our artists to turn on their cameras and to take a bow.